Hello everyone, so in this video I decided to work on one of the pieces for architecture illustration sketchbook number 15, and I mentioned last time that I might do something from scratch from the beginning so I can show you exactly how I go or how I do the artwork first before I do the coloring. So let's go. First thing I do usually is I have multiple micron pens. So I have this 005, which is really thin, and I have 0.04 and 0.02. I also have these are marker pens, so I use these pens and these marker pens to do the initial sketch. So I go really, I take the thinnest one first, and then I just start sketching, and I just start sketching what I want. Hopefully there's still, okay, yeah, there's still ink in here. So we're just gonna, try to find a composition while we're sketching at the same time, because like it's a way of thinking, but at the same time also it's an illustration piece. So I like doing something maybe like this, and this is like some massing, and I'm looking at it in perspective, but it's also very abstract in perspective. Like these can be a cluster of buildings at some point for a design, and I just sketch. Now the thing is, if you notice here, I never have perfect edges. There's always an overlap or like an intersection. This is what makes architecture illustrations unique, because there's no perfect edge points, edge lines, whatever. Like they're always intersecting. So we're just gonna find the composition, and I usually work with my wrist, with my shoulder, and I think this is something you do even with artworks. And I only use my wrist if I'm doing lines like this for more precision. But usually when I'm drawing the bigger shapes or I'm drawing the entire composition, it's my shoulders that are working and not my arm. Not my wrist. Okay, so I'm just gonna should be like fearless and just do whatever you want, and try to just sketch with confidence. And the good thing is, if you're working with a thinner pen, or like a very thin micron pens, like even if you change your mind, be like, I don't want this shape anymore, it's fine. It's gonna be in the background and it's not gonna be too obvious once you have the thicker lines over it. So we're just gonna maybe do something like this. Maybe something like this. So I'm just thinking while sketching at the same time, and I try not to make too much 3D, like, because okay, here maybe I did some 3D, but the more 2D it is as a sketch, the better. So I try to make it, I don't know, 8% 2D, 20% 3D maybe. So yeah, so we have this, and then we just have this, and okay, so from the start you should know if you want it in like a vertical or like in portrait mode or landscape mode. And for this sketchbook I decided I want to make it in portrait mode, so I stick to that. Like I don't change my mind halfway. Okay, so I'm gonna put the 0.4 just to make some contrast, and just makes it look better. So just like be forgiving with yourself, because this is a concept, so it doesn't have to look perfect. It doesn't have to, be, I would dare say, like, shouldn't make sense to people who are looking at it. But then again, it has to make sense for you, because you know what you're sketching, or like you have an idea of exactly what the sketch is. So like, don't feel constrained to make it look like, realistic, or it needs something. Just enjoy drawing those sketchy lines. Have fun with it. And it'll look good. So the more confident you are, the better it looks. Okay, so there's your mouse, there's another mouse. Okay. So the next thing I do is I get these marker pens, and they're really nice because there's like a thin edge and there's a thicker edge. And I start with thin. So as you can see, when I'm doing the sketch, I go like the thinnest first as my first layer, and then I just make it thicker and thicker. Because by the time I'm like with the thickest nib, I would say, or thickest pen, it's more clear to me how the composition looks like and exactly what I want the shapes to look like. So like, I would say like maybe the first layer of the thinnest micron was just me thinking and making decisions quick. And then as I get more, with thicker lines, I'm more set on exactly how I want it to look. Okay, so just go here. Now I realized I really hated this. I don't know why I did this, to be honest. When you're like doing something on camera and then suddenly you start making all these random decisions that you just never do. Okay, I'm not done. Yeah. I don't know, you just I think differently when there's a camera monitoring what I'm doing for some reason. Like, I'm just still not comfortable with cameras and, documenting my work. I don't know how people do it, but I want to do it because I want, people to learn more about these things. So now is the final the thickest, well, not the thickest, but like another thicker pen. And as you can see, like, now it's more dynamic because there's more than one pen thickness for the sketch. It's just one. It looks like a simple sketch, but it also looks a bit complicated. The trick was just basically using multiple pen thicknesses, and you can just have, some nice shapes. Okay. Wanna have like, okay. I didn't say this is I would say an art style. Maybe not a lot of people like these types of sketches, which is fine. I feel like everyone has their own style with everything, basically. So if you're more of like someone who likes realistic 1-point perspective or 2-point perspective images, then maybe this is not your thing. I'm not a big fan of technical work sometimes. I feel like it takes away from creativity. Anyway, so the other thing I forgot to do is my, electrical wire lines. They give an extra touch to the sketch. Like in Tokyo, when you're just walking the street and then you can see all these telephone wires, just so messy on top of you while you're walking. I thought that was really cool. Okay. And sometimes I use this one. This is the thickest one I have. I think it's called the Sign Pen. It's by Pilot also, and I don't know, I found it and it was a very weird, interesting pen because it's a liquid inside, but the tip is felt. And I thought that was a very interesting pen. And I really like, thickness of it. Just, it's a very interesting pen. Okay, so now that it's a bit dry, I can start with the coloring. Like last time, I usually decide what colors I want before I do anything. And for this one, I want yellow. And so let me see, maybe orange. So I'll take 2 shades of orange. I don't know if I have 2 shades of yellow. Okay, so I'm gonna choose yellow and orange and maybe some shades of pink. Okay, let's start. So for the yellow, I actually had 2 shades of yellow from old pens I had back when I was in uni. It's called the Copic pens. These are really good, by the way. They're also really nice. And I'm just gonna start with a lighter shade, this one, and then just start sketching. Now, probably I didn't mention last time, but when you're coloring or adding your colors, like don't fill up the whole thing. Like leave some, empty gaps when you're painting. Like don't make it completely, full of color. Like here, like the square. Like don't color the whole thing. Like just color where the light is coming from. I mean, try to just imagine that there's a highlight and there's a shadow and there's, the midtones, and just don't fill up the whole thing. It makes it look better. So I have this one. I'm just gonna color it like this. And also, like when I'm coloring, but I'm not doing it in like, full coloring mode. I'm kind of sketching with the color. Like you think of it this way, like you're sketching with the color, and maybe it looks better because I'm even coloring with my shoulder. I'm not just going very detailed with the coloring. So I'm just gonna do this. Just this side here. Okay. I'll do the the electricity lines. Okay. Bit of orange, a touch. Oops. Covered my table by mistake. Okay, no mind. Okay, let's go. And a touch of pink, like barely there. Let's see. I really like pink. It really gives an extra touch to everything. Okay. I'm just gonna do some, like. Okay, time to use the, like sometimes if you feel like it's enough, but then you're like, maybe I should add more, stop. The less, the better. Like we have something architecture called less is more, although I used to really believe in that saying, but I don't know, the more I see these classical Baroque and Rococo architecture, I feel like we're really missing out on a lot because of this stupid less is more. I'm starting to hate modern architecture. I mean, not all of it, some of them are like amazing, but I feel like this whole international architecture style where every building looks like it could be located in any other city, I think maybe we were heading in the wrong direction. I mean, globalization or whatever, but I don't know. We lost so many, the character and like the charm of all these beautifully detailed ornamental buildings. I don't know. I wish we fought back more of the, you know, industrial design style buildings. They don't have a soul, you know. I don't know if you guys know what I mean. I feel like they're just dead, or building dead buildings with no characters, just ugly. They're functional, okay. I mean, I'm not gonna, you know, deny their functionality, but I wish we did more ornamental architecture. You know, I feel like maybe it's a bit hard to believe that someone in architecture actually thinks that these days, but I do. I really do. I want, you know, our buildings to have more character. I'm not a big fan of industrial stuff. And last would be our white, which gives really nice extra touch. Perfect. Perfect for me. I don't know if anybody else likes this, but for me, it's fantastic. Yeah, maybe my yellow actually is bothering me, to be honest. I have this calligraphy yellow pen. Let me see if it's gonna work. It does. Perfect. Okay, so my issue was my yellow wasn't yellow enough for me. It was a bit fading, or like a faded shade for some reason. And I decided to use another pen. This was meant for calligraphy. Like when you're doing calligraphy in black paper, this is perfect. But yeah, you can use it for other things. Okay, this is done. I'm just gonna write the date. So today is June 3, 2026, my signature, and I'll just stamp it later. Okay, so I hope you guys learned a bit about how to do sketches, like the first layer of sketching, and you know, hopefully you'll do your own style and your own, you know, sketch design. It's really fun. I would really recommend, like, you know, like a mental exercise, and also like it's a really nice you know, art piece for some reason. You know, if you like sketchy conceptual illustrations, then this is how to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, maybe. And I'll see you next time. Maybe I'll do another one, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. So thank you so much for watching, and I guess I'll see you next time.